and welcome to our last video of our Halloween series. Stay tuned for how I built Madame Leota and my version of the Haunted Mansion's Constance Hatchaway Bride. If you haven't already, please do subscribe as we'd love to grow our channel community. See you in a few. Okay, so first things first, let's talk about this Halloween prop here called the Hauntley's 3D animated head. I came across this on YouTube by sheer accident. I was just doing some Halloween searching through videos, and this little baby popped up. And there were at least 2 people on YouTube that had done hacks, and they were able to hack these heads that have projectors built into the heads and hack them into their own builds by being able to take out the video files and load their own video files and essentially change out the projection on the face. So in one video, the guy did a Hatbox Ghost from the Haunted Mansion, and his build was very complex, phenomenal. And then a lady did, oh goodness, I forgot what character she chose from the Haunted Mansion. I want to say it was a Hatbox Ghost also. But anyway, it gave me an idea. My gosh, it could do anything with these heads. You could do the singing bus from the graveyard. You could do Constance Hatchaway, which is the bride. And of course, Madame Leota, you know. So I tried to land one and I couldn't. There was none in the US I could get one, not even on eBay or Mercari, any of those yard sales or, you know, buying these things used, sold out everywhere. So I finally just decided, let me just do a general Google search, see if anything comes up anywhere in the world. And lo and behold, there was a Halloween shop based out of the UK, and they had them in stock. And they shipped to Germany. Now, unfortunately, they don't ship to the US. So I was very fortunate to be able to land 2 of these, and 2 brand new ones at that. So anyway, this Hauntley's head. So that's where it all started. And as you can see, as we open, take out the screws and you open up the head, there you have the mini projector. And in the projector, you could actually take out the projector from the head. And that's what I did. Now it takes some finessing and there's lots of tiny screws, but totally doable and easy. Anyway, I took it out and there's a tiny mini USB port on that projector. And that's where you can take a data transfer cable, as long as it's mini USB, and upload those files to your computer. Essentially, you're taking them off the projector, and then you can load your own. So what I did was I already had projection files that I had gotten from YouTube of Madame Leota, the singing bus. I mean, I've got like an entire library full of projections just to have in my library, in my arsenal of Halloween stuff. As I find them, I will either download them or purchase them if they're for sale, because you never know when these things are going to be taken down. So as I find them online, I nab them up and I have them on an external hard drive. So anyway, I did Madame Leota, and I really wanted to do Constance Hatchaway, considering the fact I had already done a bride build in 2023. So I wanted to add an additional feature to her, and that was her having a face. Anyway, so this is the VLC software I had to download online, and basically the projections I have, the Madame Leota file and the file from Atmos FX that had the bride face I wanted to use, had to be converted to an AMV file. So this is what I had to use to ensure that when I loaded those files onto the projector, they were going to load the projector. Basically, they would be compatible. It was a little tricky. There are quite a few YouTube videos out there showing you how to navigate this kind of thing. Very helpful and informational. So I will link in the description some of the videos I used to help me through that process. And also I will link in the description the videos of the YouTubers that did their builds for their projects, Hatbox Ghost and whatnot, and also the Bride. So here I am deconstructing her. I already unpinned. I had her costume, some areas safety pinned in, mainly where the lace was to keep it in place. So I'm taking out the heart. I know it sounds funny when I say that. I ordered the 2024 Haunted Mansion bride costume from Shop Disney. I know these things can be made, but I wanted the costume because there were certain accessories I wanted to use on my build this year. That being one of them, and a brooch that was on the veil I took off and put on the costume. And it's basically a very tiny mini version of the Haunted Mansion plaque. I'll show it to you here in a second. So the bouquet and the hands came from Amazon. The bouquet came from Amazon. I tied with string. I didn't bother with tape this year. It just wasn't working like it did last year. So as I turn her around, you can see I had some beads. The beads came with the costume, but I broke them by accident. So I just glued them onto the costume, and then that's the brooch that came with the veil that I took off and put right there on the costume, just to add a little bit of flair. And it looked a little bit more Victorian. And this is a battery operated candle that flickers, and I just taped it to her hand. Tape worked on that hand just fine. I don't know why. And tying it didn't work. So it is what it is. So I am taking out her arm, which is a pipe wrap thing. It's like a pool noodle, but it's for piping. I got it at a home improvement store. And yes, I'm over here kind of jacking around with my son. He's behind the camera. The hands, I just used hurricane tape, which I call it army tape because it's army strong. You know, it's kind of funny, but anyway. And I'm over here struggling to take off this arm because I must have really put it in that shoulder socket really good. I didn't tape it. I just shoved it into that socket and it just held. But there you go. And there's the other one. So I used a lot of lace. I ordered a bolero jacket that was all lace, and I put it on backwards because it had a high neckline, had like a Victorian lace neckline, and I really needed the neck to be hidden. And the white turtleneck is the first layer of hiding a lot of the stuff. And then I just used that bolero jacket, which actually had a flare puff sleeve from the elbows down to the wrists. So it looked really nice with that lace, and then it kind of puffed out a little bit like how you would see in a more Victorian era dress. And I somehow glued one sleeve to the other sleeve. And I don't know how I did that, but I did. So I'm over here struggling to separate the fabrics. And yeah, you can see the lace neckline is a very high neckline. And here I have the hoop skirt, which I swear is like a hula hoop. I do not like this hoop skirt, but it was the only one I could nab on quick shipping in 2023. I had another one ordered that was way better than this one, but it was a complete mess with UPS, and I had it sent. I just let it go back to the sender, and I ordered another one, and this is the one I ended up with. And it works okay, but I finally just used scissors to cut the sleeves, so it's whatever. And my son just sat there and kind of laughed. Yes, that is tape on the back of the projector because I needed weight to tilt the tilt the projector back at the right angle so the face would project onto the face. You know, that was the most tasking part of the build, was getting the face to project onto the face evenly and to get the projector to be in the perfect right position and not move around from side to side or forwards and backwards. And it was really hard to get it to sit still in the position I needed it in, as well as the head would either knock forward or backwards. That was a disaster. And once it was built and I had it in place, when I put the entire build onto the baby swing, I think that's when it fell back, and you could tell in the Halloween night video that her head had clearly fallen back, but I couldn't fuss with it anymore beyond that. Anyway, so that's the wedding dress. It's a cheap Amazon dress I got for like $50. And they come in different styles and variants. I wanted that one because it had quarter length sleeves and it was lace, and then I could cover the rest of the arm with that bolero jacket. And then here's that infernal hoop skirt. I'm like trying to get off this thing. There we go. Finally got her off. And then there you have it. That is how that build. It's basically a sewing dummy that seamstresses use, except this particular dress dummy is more for decoration than what seamstresses would actually use. It's only 7 pounds. I only have 25 pounds to work with because the baby swing alone can only hold up to 25 pounds. So theoretically, you can put anything on that swing so as long as it's under 25 pounds. And because of the movement, you can make anything sway back and forth. So you could create a table, like a floating table, or a bride, or really anything else that you would like to build on top of it to create the illusion that something is floating. And that idea came from another YouTuber. So as you can tell, the way the legs curl up was why I chose this particular dummy. And I could have strapped all 4 of those legs to the rim of the swing, except that it seemed a little too top heavy. It was really uneven. I had a really hard time getting it to balance on to the rim. So I ended up strapping it down more onto the base. And then I had to use a lot of string and make sure it was a very tight, I don't want to say tight fit, but I had to tie that string really tight all around, essentially from the waist of the dummy down to those rims, just to balance the weight. If the weight is not evenly balanced, then the swing will create a clunking noise, and that can actually break the swing. So I don't know. I know the guy in the YouTube video that did this build, his build worked perfectly. It seemed to work flawlessly. I don't know if maybe the swing I ordered, it was a used one. Maybe there's something in the base of the swing that's broken, or maybe I accidentally mishandled it. But I've really had a hard time balancing this dress dummy onto the swing without her leaning so far to the left that it creates that clunking noise. But we've been able to work it out come by the night of Halloween. This is only my second year having this build. So I feel like I may need to order another swing just to compare to see if the swing I have now, maybe there's some kind of defect in it. Or maybe it's just me. I mean, I don't know. It's really trial and error with a build like this. Once we got her stabilized, it's one of those things where we're literally telling each other, don't breathe on her, don't even blow in her direction, or, the whole thing. We're tweaking again, trying to balance the weight. So it's a pretty frustrating build, but when it is finished, it is just the most awesome thing you could have in a Halloween haunt. Now over here is Madame Leota. She is in a light fixture cover is what it is, and I purchased it online from a lighting company, or a company that specializes in replacement covers for outdoor light fixtures. Anyways, so as you can tell, the Huntley's head, 3D animated head, I had to take it apart and literally put that into the light fixture cover one piece at a time. And then with both my hands from the bottom, just like that, finagle the whole thing. It was very, very multitasking, but I got it done with a lot of finagling. And once it was together, it was really cool. The only drawback to this build with Madame Leota is that though it was wonderful that I didn't have to hide a projector projecting on the front of the face, because that's always been a pain in the rear. But the drawback is her hair doesn't glow. At least using a projector projecting on the front of the face, her hair lights up. In this build, though I could literally place her anywhere around the room because I didn't have to put a projector in front of her face. The projector was built into the head. The drawback was I literally had to create lighting to make her hair glow, but without it interfering with the projection behind her. So that was really tasking, but I did figure it out. I had a light fixture that's got this RGB, I believe is what they're called, lights. It's like for gamers. And I had it on a blue setting on one side of her, hidden behind the curtain, and then on the other side I used a black light, which highlighted her hair just enough for the stage, and it didn't interfere with the projector image and back of her. And there you have it. That is what it looked like in completion. You can see Madame Leota in the back. She's glowing really nice. Her hair is glowing. The projection is actually very clear. Raph just didn't get a close-up shot, unfortunately, but it was a really clear projection. And then, of course, you can see the bride. Her head looks really stiff because her head literally tilted backwards. Now, another thing with the bride build and the head, I could have trimmed the neck of that head, the plastic, but I didn't really know how to use a hacksaw, and I didn't want to ruin, what I have. So I was just really hesitant this year to even bother to attempt that, because I didn't want to, really ruin what I had. And then the whole thing it's just done. It's ruined. And these heads they weren't really expensive, but they weren't cheap either. One thing I forgot to mention is that these 3D animated heads come with like this scarf, and I cut the scarf to where it framed the face better for this build, and it created I guess like a line of demarcation. It just framed the projection really nice, so it looked in frame better. And then I attached the wig. I had to use tape, and I did this with Madame Leota as well, so the wigs would stay in place, as well as that black fabric scarves that came with the builds. So that's how I, another addition to the build that I did use. And it was easier to attach the wig without the hair falling between the projector and the back of the head, you know, and the hair seeing hairs, you know, in the frame. So it created this like a casing, and then putting the wig on top, taping it, helped to set it in place. And then I took the hair and brought it to the front, all of it to the very front, because there was no need for her to have hair, you know, in the back. And it just created a really nice, just a nice flow. It created, it kind of hid a little bit the flaws that were there with the head kind of tilted back. It helped some. Anyways, when you saw it in person in the dark, especially when the sun went down, it looked really good. It was a really minor thing you could notice, but because I noticed it significantly, but you know, we are our own worst critics. Anyway, so that is the entire build from A to Z with Madame Leota and Constance Hatchaway, the Haunted Mansion bride, or at least my version of her. And yeah, so I know it was a lengthy video, but I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope this inspires you. And we will see you in the next one, because now we have Christmas videos coming up on how we do Christmas and celebrate the Christmas season here in Germany. So we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.